Okay. Did you see the new pub looking wall that we put in there?
No.
You didn't see that with the lights, the sconces on it, the black wall when you walk in? You gotta be kidding me.
Wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. We had that black wall that was up
Mm-hmm.
just to keep the light from coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And just one thing kept getting in the way of finishing it. We always meant, and it's movable, so we can actually put it wherever we want to. And we have like a little portable power station behind it that powers the lights.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, finally I got fed up, I guess, a couple weekends ago. I'm like, I'm just going to finish this wall. If nothing else, we can finish this wall. And it looks pretty cool. It's got like the old trim wall on it. And then it's got the bronze sconces. Yeah, check it out when you get up. It's cool. What's going on?
Not much, man. Just getting back into the swing of things now. Yeah.
So why did you take your little hiatus? Is that like a annual thing?
Pretty much.
Really?
I need it, yeah. So I go so hard into it.
You pull that just a hair closer to you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I go so hard into it. It's just doing all kinds of personal work and trying to find and pay work and stuff like that. I just need to have like a good month every year to just relax. And really, it's just an excuse for me to play all the video games I missed last year.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is.
So what's the game of the year? Like, what's the game of the right now that you're into?
I'd probably say the best game that I played was, well, technically it came out last year, but Baldur's Gate 3 is based in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. So it's like a turn-based tactical RPG, and it has all of these different story threads over the course of the game, and all of the decisions that you make in each one of these story threads can affect what happens in other ones in really unpredictable ways. So I put like 120 hours into my first playthrough. When I finished it, I jumped right back into a second playthrough with a new character in a different class and saw like 3 or 4 hours of content in the first part of the game that I didn't see the first time that I played the game, that I just didn't know was there.
Wow.
So there's a whole bunch of content in that. And then the other one that I like a lot is Alan Wake 2.
Okay.
If you game, do you game?
I don't game. Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
The story is something I think you'd be really interested in. It's a really curious world. It's this guy, Alan Wake, and he has the ability to write things into a book that follows a specific narrative, and it happens in the real world. So he can write characters in, he can write different events in, but it has to be done in a narratively in a way that actually makes sense. So the hero can't win or can't live through the story without making some sort of sacrifice. So he has to intentionally put the hero through adversity. And over the course of the story, the hero is trying to rescue him, and he's writing the story that the hero is going through. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
So what is the benefit of playing games that much? Like what do you get out of it?
For me, it's always different ideas that I can put into photography or just great storytelling. So I've never been the type of person that really enjoys your simple, more Call of Duty style game where you're just running around and killing people for no reason. A game, in order to pull me in, has to have some sort of great narrative. So that's kind of where I get a lot of my creativity from. It's like video games and then sci-fi and high fantasy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I haven't played in earnest, since college. And it just seems like other things have taken over since then. Music took over for a long time. That became my video game. Athletics, boxing took over for, I tend to go to these things for like 3 years at a click and get really deep into them. And that seems to be like, and just totally obsessive over them to where it eats up all the free time.
That's probably about to be movies for me.
Is it?
Yeah. Ever since I started photography, I look at cinema in a completely different way. I've always been pretty engrossed by very well shot visuals. So like how Christopher Nolan shot the Batman movies, how Sicario was shot, the Blade Runner movies, that kind of stuff. Just movies that are extremely well made. And each each shot serves a narrative purpose. It's not usually there just to look pretty. There's always something narratively that's incorporated into the shot, between like framing and then light and shadow and that kind of stuff. And looking at movies now, since I started doing photography, it's opened up an entirely different dimension for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the future with so much social content, quick turn content, to make a film like that takes a ton of time, ton of money. Sometimes you can do it without maybe all the money, right? You can still be make an indie film for a reasonable price, but still overwhelmingly a huge endeavor.
Yeah.
Do you think like the future of film is going to be what it was, or do you think it's going to become a dying art?
I think that's a good question. Probably what's going to happen to filmmaking is kind of what happened to things like painting. It's going to be, since photography came around, it's probably going to be something like a very, very specific kinds of people are going to be more interested in that medium and actually care a lot more about the art of cinema, because it's kind of where painting is now since photography came about. It's appreciated by very specific sets of people who are kind of willing to pay a premium to have access to that kind of art. Especially now that I don't even know the name of the company. I think it's OpenAI just released some sort of AI video, text to video generator. That's absolutely insane to me. Yep. I don't understand that. That's crazy.
It's going to be very soon. It's going to be where you put your glasses on and you're going to see, I think, a film that somebody made through your own eyes, just like all the Oculus and all the different gaming systems, and the Apple just came out. Like eventually it's going to be like putting on a pair of Ray-Bans and you're going to be immersed in somebody else's sort of, it won't be a movie, but it'll be something. It's a
totally different experience. Yeah. There are some games actually that are like that. One game, Resident Evil 4, there's the regular game that you play where the camera's like over the shoulder of the dude. And then you can play it with the VR headset on, and it's from first person, and you can know the whole game from front to back. But being there in his shoes, seeing everything in first person, it's not a chainsaw coming at the dude on the screen anymore. It's a chainsaw coming at you. So you freak out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild. Have you seen, if you liked Blade Runner, have you seen the movie Strange Days?
No.
Okay. This came out probably late 90s. I'll look it up. But it's the summary is basically it's in the future from that time, and they have these headsets and things you can put on, and you can actually download people's memories. And so you put this like headset and ear set on, you're actually living these memories that someone else did, and so you get the experience whatever they were doing. So there were some. I think one was in there where like it was like a robbery, and the guy was like running and he fell off a building. And so you actually experience all of this. And it goes, obviously, it's actually a really great movie. It's a great sci-fi movie. At least it was. I think it would probably hold up. But you might dig that.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's awesome.
It's really interesting. Yeah. It was really, the thinking, the forward thinking of it was pretty cool. That's cool. It's got that darker, new film noir kind of Blade Runner feel, dark city kind of thing.
It's crazy how much of that makes it into the content now. There's another game, Cyberpunk 2077. It's a Blade Runner-esque game, but there's a few parts where you have to solve different mysteries. And in order to do that, they have these videos that you can slide into like their neck slots called brain dances, where you go through the memories of the person that just recently died or somebody else that was involved in it and try to figure out what happened so that you can solve the case. So it's crazy how they take stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so crazy. I mean, we're all going to be just hard drives pretty soon. Maybe we already are. Who knows?
Who knows?
You know what I mean? So cool. Well, hey, listen, let's talk about your photography. So you got into photography just a couple of years ago. Like, how did you get into it? And why did you get hooked so bad, do you think?
It's so random. I got into it. everybody has a story about how like their dad had a camera and they've been doing photography for like 10 years. I don't have anything like that at all. I was streaming on Twitch because they probably know by now I'm a gamer. I'm a huge gamer. I was streaming on Twitch and I bought my camera to use as a webcam to just have a better presentation. And I took my camera outside one day to downtown Podunk Hickory, North Carolina, and took a few pictures and was kind of hooked from there. But it was my first portrait session that I realized like, okay, I love this. I've always been really interested in people in general. I've always liked people watching and kind of figuring out different characteristics behind people. So in my photography, the most prominent part to me of any picture I take is always the person's eyes. Because that's where, the window of the soul thing, that's what I like the most. But I think it was probably just my fascination with people in general that really hooked me into getting into it.
So you started with a webcam?
Yeah, I had this little, my first camera was an actual camera.
Okay.
I had a webcam that I was streaming with, but the quality sucked. And there was a suggestion from a YouTuber to buy a DSLR.
Got it.
To use as a webcam.
To upgrade what you're looking at the image.
Yeah.
Got it. What was it, a Canon? It was a Canon.
Yeah, it was a Canon.
It was a Canon.
Yeah, it was a Canon.
For those who don't know, I'm a Sony guy. You're a Canon guy. We've talked about this many times.
It's very unfortunate for him.
Okay. How'd you get your first portrait then from that point of having the camera and using it as a web camera? Like, then you started taking some pictures. How'd you get your first portrait thing lined up? Like just ask somebody, or
I asked. I can't remember. It was either a friend of mine that I worked with that I asked, or it was somebody I had just broken up with at the time that I had asked. It was one of the two.
Got it.
I can't remember because it was like a month apart between them, and I don't have the pictures anymore, so I don't remember which one was what. Okay. Which one was which.
Did you edit at all, or was it just direct to camera?
You can call it editing.
Okay.
It was like, oh God, I'm so glad those pictures don't exist anymore. They're terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. One set had like a really crappy pink tinge to it, and the other one is just crazy backlighting with the shadows pushed all the way up. They were terrible.
You got to go through the nasty ones to get to the good ones.
Yeah.
I think that stumbles people sometimes. Like it's hard, and you got to be able to throw like what was it? Somebody told us once for matte painting, you need to do 100 bad ones before you get your first good one. It's anything like that.
There's like
you got to learn
anything that I'm interested in. I get kind of obsessive about, so I pretty quickly bought a course that taught me how to shoot like in manual. So I figured out how to use the camera pretty quickly.
Yep.
But like the editing the editing is probably what took forever. Yeah. I got a couple of lucky, like really good shots that would probably still hold up today in those first few portrait sessions. But most of it is garbage.
You know what's interesting about like shooting and then editing, like the act of creating and then the act of like the post-production process. There's a weird philosophy change that happens. And Josh and I have noticed it from the TV experience we've had. When you're shooting live, there's so much forgiveness, right? For TV, you got like a live switcher. So you're switching shots. Like, oh, that shot, you took it a little bit early or took it a little bit late. But it's forgivable because it's all live. And then like when you're capturing something as a still or whatever in a camera, it's like it's all live. It's great, love it, looks great. We would never take something we shot in a camera nowadays and just be like, now it's finished.
Nope.
So then we pull it into editing, and then you just open up all of the options. And when you open up all of the options, it just gets maybe not overwhelming, but it can be, if you don't watch it, it can get overwhelming. Because now you can do whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So you're out of that realm of like in the moment, and now you're in the realm of what could it be? What's good enough? Where does it need to be? What could you do? And it just like, it makes it, it's a weird dance. You got to know when to cut it loose. You know?
Finding that line between what the image should be and going too far, that was probably the biggest. Is probably a really big struggle.
I think most people naturally, when they first start editing, too much. And it's the same thing with video editing. You're doing too much. It's just too much. Like it's more about the finesse. Animators are exactly the same way. Justin Keefe, who we know, and like Dave Kaminsky are both great animators, and that they both have that like finesse, that touch of like the small movements go a long way for them, and it's experience and an eye, you know.
Yeah.
But when you first open a program and you see all those buttons, like, you know, you open up the filters and you're like, ooh, look at these filters.
I couldn't even imagine somebody who just opened Photoshop for the first time, because we had it in school, in high school, and at home I pirated a copy, but like everybody did.
There's no shame.
So I wasn't doing any photo editing. It was mostly just dumb collages and like making banners for people on forums back in the day, that kind of stuff. So I had some kind of working knowledge of Photoshop when I opened it back up to do photo editing. But I know there are some people who I've talked to who have no idea how to use Photoshop. And then whenever I see them open it and just the look on their face the first time, they're like, don't even know where to start. Like Photoshop is a beast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one of our favorite jokes that Josh and I have had over the years is when we've heard people say, well, I'm going to go home and learn Photoshop this weekend. Like, all right, good luck.
All right.
You let me know how that goes for you.
All right, guy.
Now, if you're going to do, like, if you're going to learn one thing, yeah, you can do that. Man, it is a vast program. And of all the hours that we've all spent in it, it's just scratching the surface.
I'm still learning new stuff. I just found a trick last night when I was doing some retouching of a shot that I took a couple weeks ago. Sometimes people have goosebumps like on their skin, and they'll have like little whiteheads. The only way that I knew how to get rid of that was just use a spot healing tool and just go at them like that. But you can use the dust and scratches filter to get rid of it. And I was like,
that's like the old school one. Yeah. So you double your image, at least the way I've always done it, is you double your image, apply that filter, throw a mask on it, and then you just paint in the little spots you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's like the old school way of doing it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's
like there's so many different ways to tackle different problems. I wish I'd have known about that one.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half.
That one's because it's also really helpful on product stuff. Like if there's like a scratch on like metal or something like that, it's a really easy way to kind of clean that up. Because like anything that's reflective, it's really hard to use that spot tool because it's just a lot to calculate. But if you take that blurred image that it creates from the dust and scratches and just that little spot.
Yeah, it was great.
Yep, it's great. What would you consider your style? Like, how would you define your style? I'm gonna pull some of your stuff up right now.
Good Lord.
Or maybe harder question: how has your style evolved, and like what's it turning into? And I can go up and down on this. You know, if you have anything in particular you want to show.
Man, I don't. My style is changing a little bit for probably for most of last year, and even before that, my style was very bold, like sharp, high key kind of look. Now I'm starting to incorporate a little bit more shadow.
Look at this handsome bastard
into my work. Oh my God. I'm incorporating a little bit more shadow into my work. Yeah, especially this stuff from last year. A lot of it was like I went very sharp and high key with a lot of the work that I did.
Yeah, like this right there is a great one, Trey. That's such a good picture.
But now I kind of just throw stuff at the wall, to be honest, and see kind of what I like and what I don't like.
I know you got into gels. You can see that as you come up this way. But I noticed you also kind of have gone, it's not as contrasty. It's more faded, more of a vintage look. Is that part of the...
I started playing around with like crushing my shadows. I know it's kind of, for a while it was kind of overdone. I don't see it too much anymore. I just like the look. I like what it does to the shadows a lot. It really there's a lot of punch to the image with the shadows, and I love playing around with the colors and making them bold and less realistic, a little bit less realistic. Like that sky wasn't that blue when I shot it.
Right here?
Yeah, that's a lot closer. The one with Trey jumping is a lot closer to what the sky actually looked like when we shot the image. But yeah, I like working with Trey quite a bit. Anything that I need Trey to do, Trey does. Especially with the like beauty work. I'm actually planning a beauty shoot here in a couple weeks.
Yep.
With Trey. But I've always found it hard to define what my style is, to be honest. I have inspirations in other photographers that I like a lot. Like Annie Leibovitz is my favorite photographer. And then I like photographers like Lindsay Adler.
Yep.
I
Fantastic.
love what she does with light.
I can see her influence in some of your work. Yeah. She's fantastic.
I love Lindsay Adler's work. Aaron Anderson is another photographer whose work that I like quite a bit, but his work is very cinematic, and I haven't really figured out how to do anything like that in my way yet.
Got it.
Yeah. I'm looking to go more lifestyle with some of the work that I do, so I might figure out a way to incorporate more of that into my work that way.
Yeah. What's driving that?
So a lot of the work that I do is like editorial high fashion. And unless you're in New York or LA, there isn't really much of a market for those.
Yep.
And I've contacted a couple of modeling agencies, and that's just kind of what they're looking for is lifestyle. And I don't want to just go out and rip other people's lifestyle content and be like, hey, here that is. Because I hate the idea of not being innovative and constantly pushing where my creativity is going. It's probably why my portfolio looks like a whole bunch of random stuff thrown at it. To be honest, I'm always just pushing myself to do something new, even when I'm planning shots or planning shoots. A lot of the times, like a makeup artist or a model will give me a mood board and they'll tell me I want this, and I'm like, okay, so we can take a couple elements of this, but we're going to push this into a different direction and do something that we haven't seen before. Because I don't really see any use of me just rehashing stuff that's already been done. I think when somebody is first starting, it's really helpful to try and emulate other people's work, because that gives you a really good idea, especially with lighting, on how to compose a shot, figuring out what it is that you like and what you don't like about the different kinds of shots that you do, figuring out like what focal length you like shooting at, that kind of stuff. But especially now, you just get to a point where I got to a point where I just want to constantly see where my own creativity takes me. And taking elements of other stuff, I'll do that on occasion. But for the most part, a lot of my shoots are kind of just showing up and seeing what sticks, which probably isn't the greatest way to go about it. But
I mean, that's a definite journalistic backbone to that, right?
Yeah.
Like something about like a journalistic style is, the most important part is putting your feet in the right place, right? And so all of the other elements like composing and lighting, everything becomes secondary. Whereas if you do like a studio shoot, well, it's kind of reversed. So it's funny how each different niche has its own like priorities of what needs to be done first. And the same is with video. When we started doing a ton of YouTube, all the film bros always want to do the nicest camera, the cinematic as possible, and gets more expensive. And the viewer doesn't care so much. And we actually mapped it out one time. Our friend Jonathan and I mapped it out one time, and like production value for like something like a YouTube is down here. It's like number 10. It's the content is king, the story is king kind of thing. Always seems to be the first one. Yeah. But so every time you pull out a camera, it's like the intention kind of drives what are the priorities for each one of those things. And I'm bad because I fall in love with like all different kinds of visual, mediums. I love film. I love regular content that's shot on a little power shot Canon thing. I love, I love stuff like this that's editorial and it feels very like built and understood and made and intentional. And then I also like some of the most random street shots that you can find. So
I love street photography, man.
I'm terrible at it, but I have a massive respect for it.
I would love to go out into Charlotte or somewhere and just do street photography, but it's so hard. People look at you and be like, what are you doing?
So, that's why I like these small lenses. So this is a compact prime and this actually comes off. So it gets even smaller. But honestly, the biggest reason I learned to like small lenses, and it actually came from shooting video, not even photography, was because when you pull out the bigger camera with the big lens on it, people see it. And when they see a camera, they start changing their behavior. So if you're trying to do a verite sort of shoot and the person sees the camera, game over. Yeah. It's not real anymore. Now they're performing or they're hiding. And so, but that's why I love like little pancake lenses just for that, keep a low profile and,
that little camera that I have, I want to get a little telephoto lens for it. Yeah. I want to get a little telephoto lens for it because right now it just has like a little 40 millimeter, but I want to get like a small little telephoto for those micro four thirds cameras. So I can try to do some street photography. I might end up getting a different camera because that one's kind of very rudimentary and basic. And up close, it's easy to get the shot that you need. But if the person is any kind of distance away, it's not great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What are you shooting on now? You're not on the R5.
R6. But that's about to become my backup body.
Okay.
I just sold my 5D Mark III and I picked up a 5DS.
Okay.
I really like that high resolution.
Yeah.
I really like the high resolution. I was actually kind of inspired to pick that up from when we were shooting in Florida because I noticed that for a lot of the shots we were having, we were going to shoot wide and push in. And it occurred to me that on some of the images, even not for social media, we might do that anyway for how they format them for the website or in post. So I figured for when it comes to stuff like that, more resolution definitely doesn't hurt. And even just for the first shoot that I did for it with it last week, the image quality is fantastic.
Yeah.
On it. Yeah. It's really, really good.
What's the resolution on it?
50.
50? Okay.
50.6 megapixels. But it's like, it's a great camera. It's an older body. Not that it matters. It's like every camera in the last like 15 years is great.
Yeah. I was thinking about that Florida shoot today, and I was thinking about that 7-year-old Tasmanian devil. And I don't think civilians will ever understand the stress that can be caused by a 7-year-old on set when you're looking after trying to direct 30 some people in conditions you can't control, and at the same time someone's you're having to update insurance policies and then trying to balance all of that, and then you see it and you know there's that great picture, I think Clyde took it, of it, and the look of sheer exhaustion on my face when she's doing the big ta-da. Everything was a performance for her. It damn near killed me.
I think all of the energy that the other kids didn't have.
Oh yeah.
For like the whole 2 weeks, all went into her. Like all of it.
Oh man, it was
like all of it.
I thought I was gonna die.
But like, she didn't ask you if you hated Jesus though.
I was trying to think of what she said to you in a room full of people across the room. Yep.
I was like, just not. You don't celebrate Christmas?
Oh boy.
It's just not.
That's exactly what I was that's what got me thinking about it today. I'm like, what was it that she said to him?
You hate Jesus?
Across the room with a conference room size.
I was like, what?
Ballroom size place full of people. And
whole room gets quiet.
Oh yeah. That was hilarious.
I'm like, wow, that's all right. Okay.
That was hilarious. Yeah, but people with like the regular day jobs who live in a somewhat controlled world will never know that terror of seeing a young terrorist come up on set. And she was actually great on camera. She really was. And so not to diminish her. So she was actually
pictures.
really, really great.
Yeah.
But it was just the
outtakes.
Trying to keep it on the rails was tough. Gave me a run for my money for sure.
The bloopers.
So funny. Well, cool, man. Listen, I know you got some people coming in here in just a little bit. What are you shooting today?
It's going to be a pretty basic fashion test shoot.
Okay.
It's going to be the kind of stuff that you would see for a model on the agency's website. So they're not especially involved images or super creative images, just pretty basic stuff. Because that's pretty much that's just a hole that's missing in my portfolio.
Got it.
When I was looking through my portfolio at the beginning of the year, I was like, I shot nothing but high fashion and beauty work the whole year.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't really have a problem with. I love shooting that stuff. But when you're looking for work, like these fashion companies, they want to see that kind of stuff. Like, can you shoot a lookbook?
Sure.
Can you shoot like more basic everyday looks that people will that'll be appealed to, like the area that you're in?
Yeah, geography is a big part of it.
Is a huge part. So that probably the first half of the year is probably going to be more lifestyle work and more of that like basic modeling stuff for different models, so I can stick those into my portfolio. But I do have other high fashion stuff that I want to do. Right now, I'm looking for a fashion stylist to work with. They're really hard to find.
There's some good fashion people around here though, which is a little bit shocking. But yeah, I mean, they're out there.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll have to find some.
Yeah,
slide into some DMs. Yeah,
is that the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Just head to Instagram or email me on my website. My email is judah@judahtownsend.com. It's very easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. Or just hit me on my Instagram. Generally speaking, I'm usually available. Always have my phone on me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andrew.
And I guess we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.